Hey guys, and welcome to Warcraft Daily for today, the 19th of September 2013. So in today's news, we will have the Race to World First, all the sort of latest developments, PvP Season 14 and some related PvP stuff, whole bunch of talk from the blues, and some important hotfixes that you should definitely know about. So, Race to World First. Well, it's definitely heating up with Method and Blood Legion both killing Throk the Bloodthirsty. Now, despite the one-day delay because of the EU reset, Method actually managed to get there first, so... Oh, Blood Legion, come on, you had a day on them and the Euros still caught up with you. It's interesting, the whole Europe versus America sort of thing with raiding. Now on 10-player, Paragon is also leading the pack, taking it home for Europe again, being the first to get to 9 out of 14 with Sanitas and Vast getting there shortly after. So, there you go, good stuff. It's very interesting, the Race to World First. Especially that 10 actually seems to be a little bit harder than 25 because there are still very high quality guilds on 10 that are lagging behind 1 or 2 kills. Another cool thing is that the bosses definitely seem to get very hard towards the end. With you know, like 10, 11, 12, etc. Really, they seem to be taking a long time, well, relatively a long time for these guilds to down. So it's pretty cool. Now, let's move on to the PvP talk. Now, Season 14 has begun, so you can go do your PvPs and stuff. And there's some changes and things that you should probably know about. Now, resilience has again been changed. The base resilience has been increased a little. I think it's 14%, not too sure on that. And this is to compensate for the extra burst on gear and trinkets, which seems fair enough because one of their key design goals is to make PvP not as burst focused. The thing is with burst focus, you just make a few swifty one-shot macros and it takes all the skill out of PvP. I know this because I rolled with a one-shot macro as a BM hunter in patch 5.2 and 3. And it was just ridiculous. I didn't have much skill, but I still was able to murder people. So by making things less bursty, what it means is the fights are slower, and therefore players' actual skill is what really creates the difference in how well the different classes do. Sorry, how well the different players do. Of course, class balance does factor into it. Now also, the Conquest vendors have been disabled to fix a bug with the Conquest cap. I think it's the catch-up cap as well, so really I'm not too sure what's going on there, but they said they would fix it as soon as possible. At the end of the day, if no one can buy the gear, I suppose it's not really that overpowered or anything. And finally, a question to the PvPers. So there's a PvE trinket called the Assurance of something, you know, the something depends on what class you are, and what it does is it reduces your main class cooldowns by 35%. Now I was thinking to myself, is this not absolutely ridiculous in PvP? Like a hunter, for an example, can have all of their big cooldowns just come 35% earlier, which I know, it sounds really overpowered. So PvPers, a question to you, and I literally do want to know this, how the hell do they balance that? Or have they just not balanced it? Well, it would be interesting to know. Now, next up, Blue Chatter. So first of all, they said that they are aware of the whole big plethora of LFR OMG, it's too hard threads the first week. And apparently Nurashen's actually been a little bit of a bugger because he has been selecting the wrong people to go into the test phase, which has been making the fight harder. Now this would definitely make sense to me because the Nurashen encounter on LFR is actually rather long. I'm beginning to think that perhaps Nurashen doesn't do a good job of targeting as many DPS players as he should, which results in there being not as many purified DPSers, meaning that the fight gets pretty tricky at the end. I know a lot of LFR groups have been running into the Enrage. Now, personally, I can't really say any of this from experience because I found an amazing group. It was literally like we had loads of normal and flex raiders in this LFR and we just blasted through everything. Apart from Shav Pride, because, you know, being LFR, everyone stood in the crap of the ground. Because that's just what happens. Now, the next thing they said is that the Legendary Cloak DPS may be, in terms of percentages of overall DPS, may be a little bit exaggerated due to players getting used to class changes. This is definitely true, but the one thing I would like to say is, damn, the Legendary Cloak does a pretty good percentage. It's doing from 5 to 10% of people's total DPS, and this is me looking at the parses of the other hunter, the other amazing hunter in my guild. What, I just said the other amazing hunter. No, he's like, everyone just sort of looks at his numbers and thinks, dear God, how do you do this? So yeah, we were looking at his parses, and he is pretty much playing perfectly, because he always does, and the Legendary Cloak is still doing a very significant percentage of his entire DPS. So yeah, I mean, it's really damn strong. You want it for this tier. That's definitely something. Right now, I still need to kill the 4 Celestial bosses. It's been rather tricky getting them, finding groups. Actually, an interesting thing about these Celestial bosses, on the first week, they all had about 79 million health. Turns out they've randomly buffed them back up to the PTR level of having from 350 to 400 million health, which I suppose makes them actual bosses, which is probably a good thing. Now next, they said in response to withholding some items from LFR, such as the Garrosh heirlooms, they said there should be rewards for putting in the extra effort. And I've seen a lot of people saying, wow, I don't have time or for normal or flex, whatever. So yeah, do you know what that means? It just means you don't get the item. It's really that simple. It's not needed. It's nice for leveling, but it's a reward for extra effort. I mean, if everything is going to be available in the game on the lowest difficulty, then why the hell even bother? You know, these people, they're just so entitled. They think that their $15 a month entitles them to the entire, like, all the content of the game, but what they don't understand is that if all the content in the game was available to people, like, just baseline for zero effort put in, essentially zero, then it would be to the detriment of the game, because people just burn out at max level. There needs to be things that are hard to get, and there needs to be things that require effort to get, because things that require effort encourage people to band together, form guilds, form groups, and that's the core of an MMO. It's a fucking MMO. I know that, like, Blizzard have done a really shitty job recently of funneling everyone into queues, and they've really hurt the MMO experience in their game. Like, unless you're in an established guild, you have no need for other humans. You can just pug flex, which is good, but still, I think there's been too much of an emphasis on World of Warcraft being a menu interface. When you hit that I button and click Q, the game needs to be less of a menu interface to take you to do things, and more of a world that involves you working with players to down things and get the awesome rewards at the end. Getting a Garrosh heirloom, it's not necessarily about the heirloom itself, it's about, we have put in all this work, we've got to Garrosh, we've done effort, we've put in time, and now we get a really cool thing. And it's not just the reward that's cool, it's what that reward means. And if you take out the effort to get the reward, then the reward really means nothing. Now, let's move on to hotfixes. So, a whole bunch of these are raid things, and there's some time style things, and I'm just going to go over them because, hey, someone might find it interesting. So in the Sha of Pride, Swelling Pride's secondary effect can no longer be incorrectly redirected by Zen meditation. For Malkorok, the ancient barrier should now allow Surging Mist glyph with the glyph of Surging Mist, okay, to generate chi normally, which is wonderful or something. And for the Paragons of the Klaxi, players with the Strong Legs buff should no longer be getting knocked up off the off the platforms early. Players that acquire the Prime title during this fight and successfully complete the encounter now have a buff which allows them to retain the title for 60 minutes, so yay. And finally we have for Garrosh, they've fixed an issue where the Kor'kron Iron Star did not do damage to targets who were under a silence effect. That sounds like it would have been handy to make use of. Anyway, now let's talk about the Isle. So the Timeless Curio should no longer create the Contemplation of Shiji for Elemental Shaman, Shadow Priests, and Balanced Druids. Essentially, it was just creating the wrong trinket for these people, so if you're one of these classes, you're a little bit more safe in using that Timeless Curio. Next, the Celestials in the Celestial Court will now only rotate their order after they have been defeated, and the Time Lost Shrines, this is a big one, the Time Lost Shrines have been changed so they reactivate much more quickly. There used to be a big problem where these things had like a 5 or 10 minute cooldown period, which meant that like if there was 100 people trying to do the quest, it would just be a complete clusterfuck because only a few of these would be up at a time. So it's nice to see that change. And that's really it for the main news of the show. Another thing I want to say is that I have a new audio setup. I have a Rode PSA-1. It's like a microphone suspension arm. I still have my pretty crappy Blue Snowball. I mean, you wouldn't believe the amount of post-processing I have to put on this sound to actually clean it up. Because, well, the thing you should know about Blue Snowballs and just Blue microphones in general, or at least the sort of cheaper ones, they are more designed to be pretty okay at everything rather than being ultra good at one thing. Like, they can pick up noise from pretty far away, which also means that you'll get more background noise and stuff like that. So I am planning on upgrading the mic, but right now this shunt arm is great. So yeah, good stuff. Anyway, I'm pretty sure that's about it for me. Thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed the show. Please like and subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you guys next time.